Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Core Premier Series. It's race number 3 of round 1 of the Core Premier Series playoffs. I will be your host, Brendan Pohl, here tonight. Dylan will be here, but unfortunately is not here right now, but he does plan to get on here sometime during the race. Today we're here at Michigan International Speedway with the ARCA cars, and with how these things are built out, you kind of just hold that throttle down and try and save tire. Track temperature outside will be 107 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's going to be a pretty hot track. So expect a little bit of looseness at the exit of corners on the early run, but hopefully these drivers will be able to sort that out a little bit later on into the run here tonight. As always, the Core Premier Series is sponsored by Pointer Oils. If you need any AMS oil products, be sure to go check out Kelly Pointer. Go hit him up for all of your AMS oil needs. Actually, I kind of went through this a little bit quicker than I thought. But these guys are still practicing out. We're going to try and do what we can here. James Molyneux just trying to finish up his laps. As I mentioned, these cars will kind of just be a full throttle scene, as you can probably listen up to James Molyneux. Oh yeah, he lifts a little bit, but it's probably not that much. I'll pull up the input box if I can find it. Dashboard. And so you can just see how these guys are, how fast these things are going, and see how quickly the miles per hour drops. We'll see what happens when Molyneux comes into turn 1 here. From 187, I'm going to predict all the way down to about 170. Pretty close. They only drop about 10 mile an hour in the corners of these cars, so that could just be because they turn in and you lose a little bit of speed just by turning in general. You can see how tight the field is, though, just looking at the practice leaderboard here. Everybody at least is within 100th to the next guy in front, so it is pretty close here tonight. I'm expecting some great racing here tonight, especially with these ARCA cars. It's certainly going to be something to watch. As no qualifying here for race number 3, round 1 here for the Core Premier Series playoffs, as it's all done based off points. The starting order should be correct here, and I'll get that up for you when it comes. There's our main sponsor, Kelly Pointer. Again, if you need any of your AMS oil products, go hit up Kelly Pointer in the Core Discord. As practice is now complete, we will see what will happen here, as I'm pretty sure the grid is set correctly inside of iRacing. Since there's no qualifying, Carl has to manually set it up. Alright, so the grid is correct here tonight, and Pointer's photo is liking to stay. Let's see if I can turn that off. Pointer's overstaying his stuff, but empty work? No, what in the... Oh, because we're still selected to him. Right, now if I change over. But anyways, this is going to be your starting grid here tonight at Michigan in these ARCA cars. Caleb Collins going to lead it off in pole position. James Molyneux, P2. Joe Sullivan, P3. Or excuse me, Mark Parthur's P3. Joe Sullivan is P4. Dan Phelps, P5. John Crane, P6. P7 is Matt Crockett. P8, Dave Tilford. P9, Kevin Foster. P10, Carl Handwerk. P11, Christopher Hamilton. P12 is Thaddeus Marshall. P13, Ricky Gonzalez. And P14 is Kelly Pointer. And rounding out your field is the number 50 machine in dead last. That's Mark Thomas. And that is going to be your field here tonight at Michigan. And it's going to be something to watch here. Was Caleb Dirty Bird Collins. He's going to try and get these guys leading off here tonight. And it'll be very interesting to see when he decides to go. I know it's still technically on Barney the Flagman, but I don't know if that rule has been instated yet here at Michigan. I guess we'll find out if we don't go until the green lights come on. Barry, Hollywood and Carl Handwerk are in a very respectable range to the leaders with how these ARCA cars are. You could easily take a draft and move up to the front as soon as you want to. So those guys are not out of the question for a win here tonight. But pace car is going to drop into pit lane here real quick. Caleb's going to let them off, and we're going to take a look at the starter cam when it comes into view. A little bit early, but yeah, Barney, green flag in his hand. He's waiting on it. Pace car's going to dip down. Waiting on Barney here in the Geico restart zone. Let's see when he decides to go. It's probably going to be late in the restart zone, and green flag is now out. Barney's still obviously a little bit late, but Caleb gets a pretty good restart, and the 23 of Mark Parthers just gets a great run with him. Molyneux has to fall back a little bit. That's the 85 of Dan Phelps fighting on the bottom for P3. As Caleb Collins takes an early lead, Dan Phelps washing up a little bit. Oh, there goes Dan right in front of the field. Dan Phelps around and around. Chaos ensues on the field here. John Crane with a little bit of left side damage. Chaos has ensued already early on in this race as Dan Phelps tried to cut off the pursuing James Molyneux, and it just lifted the rear tires off the ground. So we're going to try and take a look to see what happened here. Going back a little bit to the restart. Taking a look at Dan Phelps as he gets a pretty decent run coming through turn 2, but then he tries to cut off James Molyneux, looks like. And yeah, how these ARCA cars are built. Yep, and chaos ensues from there. Crockett has a good amount of damage there, unfortunately for him. Oh yeah, that is a hurt Ford Mustang. So we're going to slow it down here. Yep, Dan Phelps goes around. Crockett nowhere to go. And then that sends him into the driver's side of Crane. It looks like everybody else kind of gets on by to a degree. So it's only included those guys. But that is already an early caution. And so far, though, not an early exit for some of these guys, as you got fast repairs, and looks like some people are going to take them in. We got some cars in pit road. Handwork, Marshall, Pointer, Phelps, and Foster, as Crockett is already back out. I believe he's managed to stay on the lead lap. We're going to see if these guys try and take any tires or just try and fix any damage that may have been there. As Handwork's right side goes up, so maybe some pit stops here tonight. Already so early. Maybe the fresh tires are pretty big here. As actually, that is Thaddeus leaving so early, I believe. Yes, it is. That's Thaddeus Marshall. I believe he only took right sides only. Everybody else, I believe, took 4. Dan Phelps takes the fast repair pretty early, so he's going to have to try and save that car because we still have 67 laps to go here. The leaders still ended up being Caleb Collins and Mark Parthers. early on in that. We're actually going to go take a peek back at that green flag from Mark Parker's POV, because he had a great restart here. As we're going to go on the roll bar on board with the number 23. And he just times it great compared to Molyneux. Yeah, because Arcus is already on the bumper of Collins going into turn 1. So he had a great run compared to Molyneux. And that allowed him to easily take the P2 spot as soon as the green flag dropped. Still have some guys in pit lane. That's including Kevin Foster, Kelly Pointer, and Hamwork again. So maybe just trying to top off on some fuel. Yeah, it looks like Pointer was gone immediately. So was Carl. So everybody just going to top off on a little bit of fuel here. Try and last as long as they can on this green flag run if we go long. Crane still has a little bit of left side damage. We'll see if that'll affect him as much because it's a very arrow heavy track. So if you get a little bit of arrow damage, that could cost big. I don't think Crane thinks he has too much damage. We're going to see what he thinks in a couple laps. But we are now double foul again. Pace car is going to drop back into pit road. Green flag is in Barney's hand. Now under Caleb Collins' discretion. He's got to go within the restart zone. But there he goes now. Green flag is back in the air here at Michigan. And he gets a pretty good launch compared to Parker's. Parker's going to drop right back in line. James Molyneux still in P3 after getting cut off from Dan Phelps early on. And here comes Christopher Hamilton on that outside lane. He's going to get that move done easily over James Molyneux. And Molyneux is actually going to drop back a lot. 3 wide behind him. This track can handle 4. That is Ricky Gonzalez down the inside. And the number 7 Serious Machine. Ricky Gonzalez trying to take the bottom lane over James Molyneux here. And it looks like he's gonna he has it now. Let's see if Molyneux tries to cross over. He does. He's going for it. But he's actually gonna back off. And try and save his stuff out. There's still a very long race to go. As a little bit further back, Mark Thomas trying to get all over the back bumper of Dave Tilford. Tires are still somewhat cold, so we could still see a loose at the end of the corner here. So far, so clean. A little bit further back, Thaddeus Marshall getting around John Crane. You can see how much arrow damage has done to it. Oh, yeah, Crane has a lot of right rear damage, too. So you can just see how much damage that is doing for John Crane right now. As he's just trying to do all that he can, but it's currently getting swallowed up by the rest of the field. And currently getting swallowed up by Carl Hamwork's Barbie Ford Fusion machine. Kelly Pointer not much further behind them either. He's gonna fall back to Carl Hamwork, and here comes Pointer straight down the outside. Everybody checks up a little bit. They must have something in front. As yeah, it looks like that is Mark Thomas falling back like a rock. Oh, he has a bit of right front damage here. I'm gonna try and rewind and see what happened to him real quick, as he may have just... Yep, too much speed coming out of turn 2 and smacks the wall hard, and that's why we saw everybody dip to the bottom. Okay, he has a good amount of right front damage now. Look a little bit further ahead. Ricky Gonzalez has caught up to Caleb Collins, that is, so he's dropped back from P1 to P3. Mark Parkers is the new leader. But Christopher Hamilton is getting up to his bumper real quick, though. Now, Caleb could just be saving his tires and hoping for a long run here tonight, which could be big if we go caution-free the rest of the race. Is Christopher Hamilton going to take a peek on that outside lane? Probably going to try and aim for the run off the corner. So far, pretty well side by side. It looks like Christopher Hamilton's going to get that done on the outside lane. Yep, he is already clear of Parker's new leader, Christopher Hamilton, and the number 64 machine. That's actually 3 wide on back. We caught a glimpse of that. That was Tilford Thaddeus and Carl Handwerk. Handwerk on the hard charger now. He's gained about 4 spots. But also, looking at this, Christopher Hamilton and Ricky Gonzalez have both gained 10 respectively. So those guys are certainly the hardest chargers here tonight. Carl Handwerk, though, trying to do all that he can. Whoa! That almost ended badly with Caleb Collins and James Molyneux. There was about a door slam and a half there. As now Handwerk trying to capitalize on that bottom lane. So far, not going to get it done on Molyneux, as Molyneux's just going to get the huge run off. And here comes Caleb Collins back on the inside. Caleb Collins to the inside of Carl Handwerk here. Let's see what he can do. Looks like it'll back off a little bit, and there is the 76 of Joseph Sullivan. Now just following Handwerk. Tilford trying to do all he can in the back. Joseph Sullivan really on the push now, trying to at least get up a little bit further ahead, and Molyneux is not liking what he's seeing in the background. There he is, bringing a train on around him. So he's hoping he can try and pull away as quick as he can. Still holding a 3/10 gap to Ricky Gonzalez in front. Yeah, the track temp's 110. Good amount of grip with these cars so far tonight. So they'll probably be able to manage the high track temp. 4 mile per hour wind speed here. It is probably a tailwind if I'm not mistaken. So expect like a little bit of an upset going into turn 1 and exiting turn 4. But looks like it is a 5-car train now with these leaders. He 1 to 5s in a train, but Ricky Gonzalez trying to say otherwise. He's on the inside of Christopher Hamilton here. But it also may try and go for a double move on Mark Parkhurst. Molyneux taking a real deep look, but he's not going to do that. It would be unwise to do that so early on in a race. Hamilton and Handwerk sticking to the high side. Parker's also on that outside lane, so Ricky is the only one on the bottom. He may start dropping back a lot right now. Looks like Handwerk is following. Looks like Handwerk and Molyneux is just trying to take the draft for whichever lane is moving the fastest. And that's a send from Thaddeus Marshall in the back. I think he gained a couple spots from that. He's going to lose that pretty quickly. It is a great race on right now. I can't cover it all. Molyneux 3 wide. 3 wide for P5 here. Collins on the bottom. Thaddeus up top. Molyneux in the middle. Joseph Sullivan just has to wait. Molyneux going to dip back a little bit. Joseph Sullivan's still in P8. He's probably seeing a lot out of his front. Oh, Collins going to get turned in the front. Oh, he's going to come back down. Oh, wow. Caleb Collins just got turned in front of the field. Oh, and it looks like he kept that thing off the wall. But he just got turned from, I believe that was James Molyneux. We're going to take a look to see what happened here a little bit. So Caleb Collins just trying to cut off the 94, and the 94 just barely, ooh. I have the wrong camera view, but it looks like James Molyneux, yeah, just kind of turns Caleb Collins. And then Collins, he's gonna manage to keep this off the wall. Wow. Caleb Collins barely manages to take that off the wall. We're gonna take a peek at that one more time from Caleb Collins. Or actually, we're gonna try and take a peek from Molyneux's roll bar. Because I don't know if Collins came up. Yeah, Collins kept coming up the track. And he almost got sent into Justice Sullivan down there on the bottom. But that is going to be the second caution of the night here on lap 16. And now, mostly everybody's going to be entering pit road here. From the leader, everybody is actually coming into pit lane. Take the fresh tires, fix any damage you may have, and top off on the fuel. This is a very chaotic pit road here. We're going to try and see what everybody does. As right sides go up for most. Oh, Collins almost misses his pit box, it looks like. But yeah, left, excuse me, 4 tires for all. As it is a little bit of a chaos in the leaderboard here. As they run out of pit road. Sullivan barely gets out in front of Thaddeus Marshall. Dan Phelps right behind Crockett, and then Molyneux. Then I believe it'll be Caleb Collins, but everybody else is trying to fix what damage they may have. As your leaderboard exiting pit road, Parker's, Gonzalez, Handwork, Sullivan, Thaddeus, Hamilton, Pointer, Foster, Tilford, and Crockett. So Christopher Hamilton probably had a mediocre pit stop because he fell back a lot more than where he was before the pit stop. Now currently sitting in P6, Mark Parker still holding the lead. Unfortunately, still no Dylan McDonald in the booth with me. But I like commentating these oval races. There's always something to go. If you watch the MX5 at Sebring race last week, you kind of know that when Hamilton pulled away and everybody got spread out to within a second, it's just the nature of those kinds of races. It kind of spreads out and you kind of have to find something to talk about. But I love broadcasting oval races because there's almost always something going on, like a battle going on or somebody catching up like crazy. There is always something going on here in oval races, and that's why I love it. As Mark Barthers actually elects to choose the outside lane. Interesting choice from Mark there. As it may end up paying dividends with these colder tires on that outside lane. We're going to see if it really does, as Gonzalez now forces to take the inside lane, Handwork on the inside. Joseph Sullivan on that outside lane. Pace car is going to drop into pit lane. Barney with the green flag, still all on Parker's, even though he may look like he's not the leader. He is. He just selected an outside lane. All on Mark. He's going to try and take that jump over Gonzalez. Green flag is back out here at Michigan. And he gets a pretty good run here considering the rest of the field. Gonzalez has to go block the high side. And now the Barbie cars currently sitting at 1, 2, and 3. As you see, everybody is on that more high lane here. The high side seems to be preferred as the top 4 are now single file. I believe that was Kelly Pointer dropping back down to the bottom there for a little bit. He's the lone car on that bottom lane. Parker is pulling away with Gonzalez fighting handwork in the back. Ricky Gonzalez trying to hold on to P2, but the hard-charging Carl Handwork has that outside lane. So we could expect a huge run here sometime soon from Carl. Or maybe just Ricky gives it up. A little bit further on back, Thaddeus Marshall trying to get it done over Joseph Sullivan. He's on that inside lane, so he has the chance. He just got to get a good run going into turn 3. He may be held up by Ricky Gonzalez. Gonzalez going to hold up Thaddeus Marshall's move on the 76. Ricky going to go high and slot in line. Ricky Gonzalez now P3, but the fight for P4 is still there. Thaddeus on the bottom, Sullivan on the top. Thaddeus also going to try and go for Ricky. That is the dirt guy Marshall getting it done on an asphalt oval right now. Was fighting Ricky Gonzalez for P3, but backs off. Currently sits P4 and the number 4. As Christopher Hamilton is a little bit on further back, trying to get around Joseph Sullivan on that bottom lane. If you can get the good runs off, though, these high banked, high lane, you can almost withstand any pass attempt. A little bit further up. Handwork. Now trying to take the lead away from Mark Parkhurst. Barbie against Barbie. Fusion against Dodge. Who's going to get taken out on top right now? Currently, it's Carl Handwork. Ricky Gonzalez maybe trying to move on Parkhurst here real quick. He has the run. He's going to take a peek on that bottom lane. Ricky Gonzalez trying to do all that he can to get back the P2 position. Some great racing going on right now. This is what you'll get if you come down to our Premier Series. Probably a little late to register this season, but next season should be just as good. If you guys are looking for races like this, be sure to go to the core Discord. Not only we have this, we have our Xfinity Oval Series happening on Tuesday, the MX5 Series on Mondays, and a bunch of other stuff we broadcast for other leagues here that I really cannot name off the top of my head, though. Thaddeus Marshall, though, now back on the bottom of Ricky Gonzalez. Ricky trying to fight on that outside lane. The tires still holding up strong. Considering they're probably the freshest they've been all race for some of these drivers. Ricky blocks that bottom lane. Good cutoff from Ricky there on Thaddeus. Thaddeus back on the bottom, though. He needs to get a good run off here and then hold that bottom. Looks like it's not going to be as great, though, because Carl kind of holding up Ricky right now. That's a little close, but Thaddeus going to back off a little bit. Sit in P3 for Thaddeus Marshall, which is still great. And now Ricky going for the move on Carl. Ricky Gonzalez trying to get the move done on Carl Handwork on the bottom lane. Let's see who's going to come out on top out of turn 2 here. Side by side down the back straightaway into turn 3. No digger cam for turn 3 apparently. Still side by side. Great racing from these guys. It is very nice how clean this is. As Ricky is gonna lead the lap, so officially new leader. Ricky also get that lead lap point. If that still matters at this point in the playoffs. And right now, it's probably just take the win if you can. That's what Ricky is trying to do. That is trying to take a peek on that outside lane. He's not going to make that 3 wide, though, right now. We still have a long race to go, and these guys will race it like at the final lap. Ricky drops back down to P3. Thaddeus on the high side. And he's about wall riding turns 3 and 4. Gonna try and get that big run off, and he does! Almost cuts off Ricky in the process. He has to back off a little bit because that would have been a dangerous move to go for. But now still has the draft from Carl. Let's see what Thaddeus can do. He's going to try and get what he just did a little bit earlier. Run that high side and then try and get the great run off, as now Ricky has fallen back a little bit. The next car to worry about is Christopher Hamilton. Handwork drops to the bottom. Thaddeus just trying to hang on to Carl Handwork's draft. So is Ricky, but when they go high, he can't follow because look who's there. It's Christopher Hamilton. Up 8 spots from where he started and a pretty mediocre pit stop. Now back up to where he was a little while ago. Now as the tires wear out, the racing should get a little bit more worn out. It should get a little bit thinner, but we should still see some great racing from them with the worn tires. Everybody could just be saving right now to try and last for that long run. Thaddeus wants to block the bottom. He's just trying to block every lane that gets a good run so far. That's Ricky right now. Ricky Gonzalez tried to take a block. Thaddeus going all the way to the bottom. He's trying to cover what he can. Ricky doesn't want to go too far low and risk his run out. Here comes Parker's on the inside. Parker's had a peek there for P4. Thaddeus all the way down to the apron. This top 2 to 5 fight is insane, and this is just allowing Carl Handwork to pull away. As you can see, now the racing is thin out a little bit. The next closest battle is Parker's and Sullivan. It's actually what happened to Christopher Hamilton. He's dropped all the way back to P9. I'm going to try and rewind to see what happened because he was in the top 10 or in the top 5 fight and then just fell off. Okay. So on the lap before, yeah, he just grabs that outside wall and he just doesn't let go. I know the pain there, Christopher. I certainly know the pain there. There's a lot of ground to make back up now after almost making it all back up after the mediocre pit stop. Parker's trying to fend off that outside running Joseph Sullivan. Sullivan doing pretty good right now as he's just trying to make that outside lane work. But also notice that the top, their P3 is fighting, I should say. Or excuse me, that's actually P2. Thaddeus and Ricky were side by side. Mark Parthers had the run, but he decided to back off. And look who's there in P6, Kevin Hollywood Foster. He's trying to do a Hollywood move all the way down in that bottom lane. Not going to get the greatest run off, but maybe could work into the corner. A little bit further up, Ricky side by side with Thaddeus for P2. Ricky Gonzalez trying to fight on that bottom lane. The hardest part is trying to at least fight that outside and try and get a move done on the bottom. Parker's probably going to try and start doing the same thing. I don't exactly know how tires will be later on the run, But maybe the outside lane just becomes less viable the more the tires wear out. As Matt Crockett is actually in pit lane. No visible damage here. Maybe a sign of what's to come here for the top few drivers here. As Ricky now is trying to hold off Parkhurst. Kevin Foster sitting comfortably in P6. You just see him there in the back of the shot. He's just trying to at least maintain his stuff to at least give himself a chance later in the race. Parkhurst, though, is not. He's on that outside lane. Oh, wow. It looked like Ricky thought he was going to get net-coated there for a second. So he backed off a little bit. It went a little bit further down to the bottom. Three wide for P2. So great racing right now. Parker's going to be the first one to back out. Thaddeus, though, has the great run out of turn 4 so far. He's the only one really challenged for P2. Parker's now on the bottom of Ricky. More pit stops. James Molyneux is in. So yeah, maybe a sign of what's to come or some special strategy. Three wide now for P2. It is some great racing going on here right now. Parker's going to back out again. With that is on that outside, Ricky on the bottom, and that's just allowing Carl to pull almost a 1 second gap. Ricky has the jump. He could slide jump if he wants. He's going to do that slide job from Ricky Gonzalez. That's actually Thaddeus tapped the wall. Thaddeus Marshall tapped the wall there a little bit. Look at that. How did Joseph Sullivan get all the way up there? Ricky's now trying to fight Joseph Sullivan for P2 as Thaddeus had to drop back. I would go check the replay to see what happened, but there's really no time for that. Almost 4 wide. That's Crockett on fresh tires. He's a lap down. But he is on much fresher tires than everybody else. So you can just see the tire difference. And that made a lot of people think their strategy. Hamilton, Parkhurst is in. Caleb Collins is in a little bit further back. John Crane. Mark Thomas was already in his box. It's got a little bit of a skew to that car. But now we can expect pit stops sometime soon, which will really start to shake things up here. As we may now see Carl Handwerk and everybody else come into pit road. As that's Crockett about to unlap himself. And that may send a message to Carl Handwerk, and it does. Our leader, Carl Handwerk, into pit road, and everybody's going to follow behind who is yet to pit. That is from Handwerk all the way back to Dave Tilford and Dan Phelps. Gonna see what tires these guys take. Probably 4. Right sides go up for most. As Tilford's up against the wall in that pit stop, that's gonna cost him a ton of time. Right sides drop for Carl and the left sides go up. There goes the drop on the left side. So that's gonna be a very early getaway and unfortunately a very bad pit stop for Dave Tilford. As watching this race off pit road. Looks like Kevin Foster gets the good run out. He's now our P2. But there's Matt Crockett. Crockett with the big brain plays now in P2. He may get the run on Hayward. It's gonna be close, but it's a great strategy call from the Liquid Death Machine. He will have the lead. Matt Crockett, with the early pit stop, takes the lead. Let's see how much those fresh tires cost him. Oh, almost immediately it's noticeable. As Hayward now back on the bottom. Crockett's gonna lead the lap though. Matt Crockett led that last lap, so there's the point. But now he's gonna get swallowed back up because he pit about... I'll take a look at the pit strategy here. Yeah, Crockett pit 7 laps ago now, so yeah, those tires are mere nothing compared to the rest of the field. But it allowed them to lead a lap, which is what you may need. That's the Barbie cars. Now P1 and 2 here. With Christopher Hamilton following in P3. Matt Crockett P4. Kevin Foster is a little bit back there in P5. He's gained 1 stop since the pit stop. And Joseph Sullivan actually just set the fastest lap of the race. So you can see when the rubber starts to add onto the track and just fresher tires, it is some insanely quick lap times. That fastest lap was a 39.8. Everybody's averaging about a 40.2.
Something to notice here, Brendan, that Carl Haderwork's run of the top.
And look who decided to join us.
yeah, finally here. But no, if you notice, Carl Haderwork's run of the top lane, Christopher Hamilton and Mark Parker's run of the bottom to mid. Matt Crockett doing the same. He's kind of running right there in the middle. Not exactly sure who that is right behind him. I believe that's Kevin. Yeah, that is Kevin Foster. He's going to go ahead and get on around him. So, yes, I came in a little bit early, or late. Sorry, late. But, I mean, so far, it looks like pretty good racing here. Looking about lap number 43 out of 70. So, not a bad time out here for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, pretty good lap times going on. Especially right after pit stops, so you got the freshest tires. Probably about... Oh, my bad. But you got the freshest tires at the entire thing right now, so... So far, it has been a very insane race, though, Dylan. I don't know if you've been watching the broadcast when you weren't here, but there has been some very clean and chaotic racing, let's go with that, from these guys here, especially Parkers and Hayward. You just see some 3 wide moments going on, like 3 laps after the green flag drops.
Yeah, no, with me, I was, I got back late from, West Virginia, and I had to go see my dad and my mom, which, they wanted to see me, so haven't been able to see the first part of the race, but nonetheless, I mean, hey, it's Michigan. It's not that hard, right? I mean, it's a 2-mile track. It is technically the closest track to me, just by a little bit. So I got Indianapolis as my home track, and I got Brooklyn, Michigan in the mitten state of this track. So I got these 2 closer tracks to me. So, I mean, you can run pretty much any lane you want. I do love the ARCA cars. I've always loved the ARCA cars. Michigan is one of those tracks where obviously they're going to burn up a lot more tire wear, run to the top side, run to the bottom, anywhere you put it, because you got so much momentum and carry speed all the way through these corners. You got to get back up on the gas to keep that momentum up, so that way, you know, you don't have, like, let's say Joe Sullivan catch you going down the backstretch because, you know, you let off a little bit too much. Is Kevin Foster down to the inside trying to make that pass on Chris Hamilton. Looks like Chris Hamilton got to the wall there just a little bit, and he's going to make that pass nice and easily.
Yeah, this track with these ARCA cars is really a lot. It has an idea with momentum. If you make that wall, if you give a wall pop, you'll lose a couple spots and you have to make it all back up, as we just saw with Hamilton trying to defend himself from Kevin Foster in that X-Side machine. nice little paint scheme there from Kevin Foster. But once you tap that wall and you go back a little bit, it takes a long time to make that back up, which could be like mentally tilting. It does not help the mental state at all if you make that slight mistake.
Yeah, definitely not going to help you out it by any means. I mean, for me personally, with these ARCA cars, they're yawed out. So pretty much the back end, the right rear, I guess you could say, is going to stick out a little bit further than what the right front would, and that's just how the cars were back in the day. I mean, when you watch them go down a plate track, it looked like they're dog walking, all or crab walking, I guess you could say, all the way down the front stretch or anything like that. So if you're going to hit the wall, the first thing that's going to hit is going to be that right rear, and then after that right rear touches and it just grabs a hold of that car, you're going to see the front end slide back over, get into the wall, and you're going to just end up going from there. So keeping it off the wall is definitely going to be key. Obviously, we've already seen it with pit stops. I jumped into the Discord right as soon as pit stops ended up happening, and now I'm just watching it. I mean, 49 laps. I believe there's no cautions,
You are
which
wrong.
is amazing. Oh, I am wrong. Okay, never
There,
mind.
there's
See,
been
that's
two.
why
There's been two.
that that's why you watch the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, hey, it happens. I'm just glad that Brendan Polk was around and he was able to get the stream started, because there's no way I was going to be able to get back in time to start everything and get it up and going. So I appreciate you, sir, coming on up here and starting the show for us.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. But going back to your crab walking bit on the roll bar here with Christopher Hamilton looking up on Kevin Foster, you can see when they go into the corner, you can almost just see that it looks like they're loose just by the nature of these cars. You can just look at Foster there. It looks like he may actually be loose in that photo, but it looks like they're loose. But that's just how these ARCA cars drive out, which can be a little bit confusing to some of the newcomers, especially like, oh, if I barely tap it, as long as I get that right front going, it'll be fine. But if you tap that right rear in these cars, it teaches you real quick.
Yeah, it really can. Is, I'm paying attention to pretty much everybody out here on the racetrack. There's not a lot of drivers, like I said earlier. There's not a lot of drivers running the tippy top. The 18 machine of Carl Hanwork finally making his way back down to the inside of the track. So I think he's might be out there listening to me talk about it. Thaddeus Marshall running the inside in 1 and 2, and I wonder if that just goes back to, is it faster in 1 and 2 to run the bottom, but faster in 3 and 4 to run the top? I mean, we won't know as I'm looking right now. Carl Hanwork, he's running the outside lane. Mark Parkhurst, Kevin Foster, and Chris Hamilton running the bottom, sliding on up, and getting the run off the corner, as we have Joe Sullivan in the pit lane this time by. So second round of pit stops underway.
Yeah, it appears so. As we pull up the pit strategy box, it looks like you can go about actually 23 laps on a stint. So maybe from Sullivan here is trying to pit early to try and get enough fuel so you don't have to pit later. But we saw, you weren't here for that, but you saw Crockett try and make that work as in pitting a little bit early and then pull away. It worked for him to lead 1 lap, and then he was immediately gobbled up by the pressure tires. So maybe this will work. You could probably go about another 10 laps on this tank as of right now if you wanted. But maybe there's a bit of tire strategy involved with it.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be tire strategy involved with Michigan. I mean, it's a big tire eater track. That's just Michigan in itself. Me personally, if I were running Michigan, just from my knowledge of running the ARCA car at Michigan, I'm saving the first 15 laps. You want those tires at the long run of your, like, you want to essentially have those tires at the end of the run, right before you get ready to pit, so you can make up a little bit more time. But nice and easy entry. Don't turn the wheel too much. Don't throttle up too quick. Stuff that EPI would show us, right, Brendan? I mean,
Yeah.
you're a development driver over there. They tell you every week, easy on the gas, throttle inputs, this, that, whatever. So, I mean, it does go a long way. And that's what you're going to see Kevin Foster do, because we already know Kevin Foster is the man at saving fuel. And if there's anybody out here that's good at saving tires, it's going to be the number 7 of Ricky Gonzalez. That man is super good at saving tires.
Yeah, Ricky has shown his strengths early on in this race. He was fighting for the lead a little bit earlier, and then it just kind of fell off. So he definitely wasn't saving his tires then, at least in retrospect to everybody else. But maybe now, having about a second gap to the next car in front, that is Christopher Hamilton, probably now in that mindset, okay, let's save the stuff, get to that final pit stop, because I'm pretty sure there is at least one more to go for all. Get to that final pit stop, and then go from there.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to go from there. Is looking at it now, Caleb Collins back here doing a little bit of battle with Matt Crockett. Matt Crockett's just gonna let him go on by. James Molyneux coming out of pit lane,
Ricky coming in.
and Ricky's going in this time by. So with Caleb Collins being teammates with Caleb Collins, or Caleb Collins being teammates with Ricky Gonzalez, I'm surprised Caleb stayed out as Matt Crockett went in. And looking at the track map, Brendan, this field is pretty much spread out. I think maybe the closest battle that we have on track is going to be between the 64 and the 8.
Yeah, Christopher Hamilton is slowly catching up to that number 8 machine at Kevin Foster, which could just be the tire wear difference. Maybe the high side can save the right rear, but it'll eat up that right front a little bit more depending on how you steer. It's actually Foster now into pit road, so there goes that battle.
Yeah, Foster going to go into pit lane. He knows he can make it now with 25 laps to go. Or 15, actually. No, yeah, 25. Yeah, see? Yeah, wait, hold on.
We're lap 57 out of 70, so yeah, you were 15.
Yeah, see, I knew. I know my math. But nonetheless, still a good group of guys get ready to go on.
As now we see most of the field coming into pit lane. Maybe we expect a little bit more of the field as that Carl Handwork's gonna dive in from the high lane. Handwork is in. That's gonna assume the lead to Mark Parker's. And Ricky Gonzalez is a lap down behind him. Kelly Pointer is also still out, sitting P2 as of right now. So maybe up 12 spots from where he started, as he started in the back, because that's just how the points went. I want to see what tires Carl takes here. I believe it may just be a 4 tires. I mean, what's your mindset going through that? Like, you go through about 25 laps, and then as Carl thinks you need right sides, but what would you do in this situation?
I mean, with it being like this right here, I'm taking 4. Get me enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. Don't do anything drastic to where, obviously you could lose the race, obviously. But it's definitely going to have to be a 4-tire pit stop. I mean, obviously 2 tires can work, but you also got to think Kelly Porter staying out over all these drivers. And, if I was Kelly Porter and I'm staying out this long, you definitely have to take 4. There's just no way you can go in, take a splash and dash and go. So,
No.
I mean, me personally, I would have done the cutoff. So, okay, they're getting ready to come out of pit lane. I need to go into pit lane right now, so that way all that is done. So
That's what he's doing.
So there we go. But now you got to come into the thing where Carl Handwork in company all pit 1 to 2 laps prior, and now they're already up to speed. They're going to chew that gain down as much as they possibly can, and maybe Kelly Porter might be able to hold on to the race lead as Kevin Foster making the move on Thad Marshall right now. But it is John Crane leading Carl Handwork coming across the finish line, and Kelly Porter just now coming out of pit lane as a
Yeah, ooh, crossover from Thaddeus. That was a little bit of a moment. He looked like he was loose out of turn 4, but then like, what? Let's do a crossover.
Yeah, he set it up beautifully. Kevin Foster slid up just a little bit too early, gave Thaddeus the momentum, but here comes another slide job crossover maneuver. Kevin Foster down to the inside yet again, and still the 18 and the 11. 18 using that outside to his advantage, but the 11 going in this time by, so that's going to move Chris Hamilton back up to P number 2. And Mark Parkhurst will be P number 3, but there's a nice battle between Kelly Porter and Ricky Gonzalez as they're able to get that thing situated before turn number 1.
A little bit further back, Thad is still all over the back bumper of Foster. Thaddeus all the way down at the bottom now. Kevin's gonna get the good run off though, and he's gonna swallow up Kelly Pointer here real quick. Because this is, I don't know what happened to Kelly there, because he's just not up to speed the way he wants to. It looks like it's taking a little bit longer than expected for those tires to get up to temp.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if he didn't take tires that last pit stop. I mean, the way that he's falling off is just a little bit too bizarre. I mean, by the time, Kelly Porter should have already been running up through the field or staying with Kevin Foster at this time and just was not able to. But then again, if you look at that right front of Kelly Porter, he's got a little bit of damage on the number 75 machine. Not sure if that's just the way that his paint scheme is or not, but here's, Kelly Porter just currently keep falling on back through the line. Finally fell into P number 7, as I think that's where he's going to finish respectively, unless John Crane can get up there, get his lap back, get all the way back around, and 7 laps, and try to challenge him for that race spot.
Yep, and I just showed the broadcast, but I looked at the replay of Kelly Pointer's pit stop. It was a splash and dash, so he did not take tires at all, which would make sense why he's falling off so hard right now. So maybe a bot strategy call or something. I mean, that seems a little weird to be botched, but certainly not the right call.
I think with it being, he stayed out several laps after the leaders. Maybe he was hoping for a quick yellow, go back in, take some tires. And the good thing about Core Racing League, especially the Premier Series, you have unlimited tires. So if I get a caution after 5 laps, guess what? I'm going down, I'm taking free tires. That's just what I'm doing. That has been my strategy all along. I didn't care about track position until the end of the race. That's where I wanted to make all my ground up. But
here comes Foster on the bottom over Ricky Gonzalez. Into turn 3, it looks like Ricky's not going to put up too much of a fight. Foster's going to go right on the bumper. And this is going to be an interesting fight coming here real soon. Ricky's not going to try on that high side.
Texas versus Texas right now. Ricky Gonzalez all over that back bumper with the ARCA car. You can't push at all. I mean, you can push a little bit. Once you start seeing that rear end start coming up off the ground, you got to lay off. If you don't, your guy is going to be looking at you, wondering what you're doing, instead of looking the other way. So definitely don't want to get that nose of the number 7 machine underneath the number 8 machine and cause a caution. That is something that Carl Hedberg does not want to see. He wants to see this thing go green to the end. He's built up a 2.5 second lead. If it goes green, it's all Carl Hedberg's race to lose. But with these two battling, now Ricky kind of knows, all right, I ain't got nothing for Kevin Foster. I'll just let him go on ahead and go. And now Kevin Foster has to make up that gap to Mark Parkhurst. And Mark Parkhurst is not going to roll over easy. He wants that 3rd place finish. And that's exactly what Mark Parkhurst is looking for here tonight.
Yeah, Parkhurst.
Which, by the way, he is our biggest mover, up 12 positions from where he has started. So Mark Parkhurst doing his thing out here, up 12 from where he is originally started this race.
Yours may be wrong because he actually started P3 since the beginning of the race. And actually, I hear a car in the grass on my headphones. I don't know what I'm missing here. I believe that was... What did I miss?
Kevin Foster. Kevin Foster went off the track. So I'm going to jump back here and watch the replay, see what happened to Kevin Foster. Gets up off of turn number 4. Goes down low. What? Oh, he hit the inside wall. I think his headset did something to him. He lost a lot of spots there. Not sure if his headset died or what happened, but that's going to move Ricky Gonzalez back up to P number 4.
Yeah, now the 8's just going to try and at least finish the race, but you could kiss goodbye a good finish, unfortunately, for Kevin there. I mean, it happens. It's just kind of the nature of these things. But actually, I believe Mark Parkhurst is catching up slowly to Christopher Hamilton. But I mean slowly.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to have enough time. I mean, there's 2 laps to go here. Well, 3 technically. I mean, the gap is zero point 0.4 of a second. Mark Parkhurst, really good on the ovals, really loves Michigan. And just look at that gap that he just picked up 2/10 in turns 3 and 4. But now as Christopher Hamilton gets out of that corner, oh yeah, Mark Parkhurst is definitely going to be there. I thought maybe with Chris Hamilton running that outside, he's going to have the more momentum and pull away from Mark Parkhurst. That is not the case. He barely moved up a tenth out of turn number 4. So Mark Parkhurst looking to cap off a P at number 2 here if he can get there. He's down to 0.2 of a second. He's got to stay in that draft, use that bottom lane to his advantage where he's been running, and see if he can put that other Barbie machine up to P at number 2. There he goes
Here he
down to the inside.
comes. Trying to
Into
send
there
it.
it is. Probably going to be side by side coming up off the quarter. No, he's not. But look at the distance now. It's 0.1 of a second.
White flag is
This
out here. It's gonna be an interesting finish here. Parker's trying to do all he can. Maybe try and run high turns 1 and 2 and try and get a good run off through the back straight. Actually, I believe Hamilton made a slight mistake there, if I'm not mistaken. So that may end up in Parker's favor. Hamwork's just gonna be the clear victor here if he can get through turns 3 and 4 pretty cleanly. Taking a peek now down the inside.
dive
Parker's gonna send
bomb.
it. Here
He's going
comes
to send it
Parker's
all the
on the
way.
bottom.
Side by side for P number 2. Who's going to have it? Mark Parker stays down to the inside of the track. It's
Parker's
still
on the
Chris
bottom.
Hamilton.
I don't think it's enough. Hamilton's gonna take
No.
it. Hamilton
Yeah,
P3.
Hamilton.
Parker's P3, and I'm realizing I'm interrupting you a lot, but
Hey, you
it's
know
a
what? Hey, more power to you. I mean, hey, I come in late. This is your show, buddy. But yeah, I mean, just an absolute blast of a race there to the finish. Mark Parkhurst almost got it done there towards the end. Just ran out of one single more lap, and I think Mark Parkhurst would have had it.
yeah. If Parker's had another lap and maybe a little bit better of a send, not like his was bad at all, but I mean, certainly if he could did that a little bit better for what he thought, maybe that could have had it done this lap. But Carl Hamworth, clear victor here tonight with the final race of round 1 here for the Core Premier Series playoffs. He locks himself into round 2, and now we try and go with some wild cards here. Some people are gonna have to hope on that now. I don't really know who has to hope on these wild cards, but we know Handwork does not have to worry about them.
Head work doesn't ever have to really worry about that. As you know, from what I got to see there for a little bit, racing was absolutely superb. Couldn't ask for a better end of a race. I mean, green flag from the time that I got in here to the time that racing was over. So can't be that bad. So obviously, everybody doing what they want to do.
Try and get these guys into the waiting room. This Carl and Chris is already there, but try and see if we can wait on our P3 guy.
I can see him real quick. Oh, there he is. I'll go ahead and
Yep, there he
drag
is.
Gonna go ahead and drag in our third place finisher of Mark Parkhurst. Mark, this is Dylan and Brendan in the booth. You got a copy.
I got you.
All right, Mark. I kind of came in a little bit late, but nonetheless, you had that bottom lane rolling there, able to close the gap up to Christopher Hamilton, just not able to get back on around him. I think maybe if you had maybe 1 to 2 more laps, you could have gotten that inside lane to really pay off for you. But kind of go about how your race went so far from the beginning to the end. Was it top lane dominant? Was it bottom, middle? What groove did you really feel came in throughout the whole race?
I mean, I think most of the guys were kind of fading up to the top there because that's where you got the big runoff. But I mean, if you ran the bottom right, I was getting runs on people. So I mean, it could be done. We had a lot of multi-groove racing tonight. So I mean, it wasn't really burning up my tires either. I still had a lot to offer at the end of the run as well. So I mean, I was even running people down who were running the top side. So I feel like that might have been a little bit better on my tires. But I think it was good back and forth race. Saw a lot of comers and goers throughout. So I think it was fun.
We got to see two of the Barbie cars in the top three. Obviously October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, everybody was encouraged to run a pink scheme, and that's exactly what you did here tonight. Obviously, just a great showing here. Obviously, end of the first round. Not sure if that was enough to get you into the second round. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But with that being said, on the second round or the first round, you got Dirt Legend with Williams Grove coming up next, and then obviously Homestead and the Cadillac, and then Red Bull Ring with the Skip Barbers. So if you do make the second round, what track and car combo are you really looking forward to help you succeed and put you into the championship week?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not even in the playoffs. I missed too many races.
Oh,
I'm trying to wild card my way into this, but I think let's see. I was a second, fifth, and third in the first round. I think I'm off to a good start here, but I've really got that the second race scheduled, the Cadillac race, because I'm not confident at all about Dirt Legends or Williams Grove, so that's going to be just damage control and try to recover back on the other two. I like the Red Bull Ring, I like the Cadillacs and Homestead, so see what I can do in the final two races and hopefully grab that wild card spot.
I mean, definitely want to make sure you get in there on the wild card spot. That was something that I was able to do in my rookie campaign. Obviously, you're trying to go back-to-back championships out here tonight. But Mark, before I let you get out of here, is there anybody on that number 23 machine you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out Ricky and Caleb for hanging out and chat with me during the race. My mom for watching. I got two friends that inspired the Barbie car to begin with, so shout out to them as well, even though they probably ain't even watching. But shout out to you guys for broadcasting, Carl for putting on this league, and everybody for a great race tonight.
All right, Mark, we're going to go ahead and let you get on out of here, celebrate that third place finish, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again next week.
I hope so.
All right, that's going to be your third place finisher. And Brendan, I'm going to go ahead and let you pull up our second place finisher. You can talk to the bridesmaid, and
yeah.
I'm going to get some strawberry acai on my foot.
That's fair enough. But Christopher Bridesmaid Hamilton, this is Brendan and Dylan in the broadcast booth. You got a coffee.
Yeah, I got you.
So, really, the first half of that race was probably about damage control. I mean, good amount of cautions there, nothing crazy, and I mean, it was still great racing through and through. There was about 3 wide. I think there was a 4 wide, if I'm not mistaken. How did you keep your cool there? I mean, it certainly must have been something, not only in the beginning of the race, but at the end to try and at least maintain that P2 spot.
Oh yeah, earlier in the race, it was definitely about damage control. As I got into the wall and was eating it in turn 1 and 2, so that was fun. Trying to recover with some slight damage, and then the caution came out, kind of reset everything, and then it was just about trying to get up there. And Carl had the number tonight. He had a line that I tried emulating, and I couldn't get as good as a run as him. On the super long runs, I was able to catch him, but by the time I was only catching him a tenth a lap, and he was like 2.5 seconds ahead of me. So, yeah, good job, Carl.
Yeah, certainly the traffic very much played in his favor as everybody was pretty much fighting for P2 on back, so he was able to just pull away to, I believe, what was a 2-second lead at the checkered flag. But, I really have nothing much else for you. I mean, that was a good race on you. Is there anybody you'd like to thank on that number 64 machine?
Heaps thank you to the guys racing here. I think we had a decent field tonight. Pretty good racing. Thank Carl for putting this league on, and thank you guys for the broadcast.
All right, Chris. Well, again, congratulations on another P2, and hopefully see you next week at, I believe, it is the Dirt Legends. Yep, at Dirt Legends at Williams Grove. That'll be something in a little bit more of Thaddeus's range, but hopefully we'll see you there next week.
We have a week off for Halloween, so happy early Halloween, everybody.
Well,
and then I will not be at Williams Grove. I'll be racing in real life and going Spec Miata racing. So would love to be out there, but I would also love to be out there in the actual real world stuff. So here's to that.
Well, good luck on that. And we'll see you then next week, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see you boys at Homestead.
All right, that was our P2 finisher of Christopher, another bridesmaid Hamilton. I'm gonna bring in our winner here tonight, Carl This is Brendan and Dylan in the broadcast booth. You got a copy.
I got you, boys.
Well, it seemed
Alright.
like the traffic played in your favor. I didn't know if you wanted to do that, Dylan. I thought you were
Yeah.
still gone. But it seemed like the traffic ended up playing in your favor after once we got on that long green flag run. That's because everybody P2 on back was fighting. I'm sure the pressure was there because there was the chance of, oh no, I could make a mistake, and then they're already back on your bumper. And early on, the race was a little bit chaotic. What was your mind going through really most of that race?
I mean, like exactly what I did. Like when I stretched out to just over a 1 second lead, and then I brushed the wall and let him back to 0.3. Yeah, that wasn't
Oh, I
fun.
didn't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, so yeah, it was a good run out there. It took a little bit. I tested some things out in practice, and one thing kind of worked, and then I get in the race, and it just seemed to be something completely different. I do know that Michigan, unless you're really trying to nail a qualifying run, you don't want to get on the bottom seam in 1 and 2. I did see some guys getting down there, but it's a little flatter down there, and it's a little bit shorter around, but it's ultimately going to give you a really bad rotation through the corner. So I tried to stay right on that first seam in 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 just it seemed to be faster for me right up there on that top line, and seemed to be able to pull away from everybody. I think everybody was running at least a groove or two lower, and it worked. I'm not going to complain, but the restarts when I was towards the back there and kind of going to the corners, some of the guys were a little bit slower than expected. So it was a little tough trying to keep that speed, keep the momentum, and keep off everybody's back bumper.
Yeah, it looked like, especially early on in the race, it certainly probably was something to try to get through that most of the field there from where you started. I mean, there was a lap one accident with Molyneux, and I believe it was I forget his name now, but I think it was Molyneux and Collins, and then the other one with Molyneux a little bit later. But you kept your cool. You kept it in P1 now. That basically, if you haven't already, locked you in the round two. Hopefully, how you feeling about Williams Grove next week with the Dirt Legends?
I mean, technically, other than Pocono, I guess this is my home dirt track. Um, it's going to be interesting though with the Legends. It's not a typical car that is on the dirt. I mean, obviously there is a dirt legend car, but it can get a little funky, and it's just because it's a smaller car doesn't mean it's easier to drive. That thing can get a little bit sideways pretty quickly. So we'll see how the track wears out. But yeah, tonight was good. When I got out there to the lead, I knew once I caught up to Parkhurst and Hamilton, I wanted to get to the lead because these cars, it's not much, but you can definitely feel some aero push when you get up too close behind somebody, and I didn't want to wear that right front out any more than it was going to in the first place. So I wanted to get to that lead. I didn't think I was going to be that fast that I could check out from those guys, but man, I'll take it.
Yeah, I would take that too if that was the case. But before we get you on out here to celebrate this dub, is anybody like to thank on that 18 machine?
Yeah, I obviously got to thank all the guys back at the Barbie Dream House for bringing this thing in here tonight. We're all pink on the inside, as I say, and obviously some of the guys out here were running pink paint schemes for Breast Cancer Awareness Month here. So I mean, I think I can say for everybody here, at least in the booth, we all love the Tatas. So make sure we help support the breast cancer awareness and save the Tatas out there. But yeah, it was a good time. So hopefully we can keep this momentum going up. I'd like to think I have somewhat of a shot at Williams Grove. Obviously, Thad's going to be tough, but I'm already looking forward to round two. Carry a little extra 5 bonus points in there and see what this 18 machine can do.
Yep, those AA batteries did you good. We're gonna get you on now here, though. Again, congratulations on the dub here tonight.
Thanks, boys.
Well, that was something. I know you were only there for half of it, Dylan, but that first half was something. I mean, there was probably about a battle going on the entire time. I mean, when you came in and those first pit stops came through, everything spread out a little bit, so it was a little bit more manageable afterwards.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the product of racing with Core Racing League, and obviously Michigan being a wider track than others. It's definitely going to provide great racing all the way around the track. Obviously, 2 cautions, no big deal. 70 laps, 2 cautions. Can't be too mad about it. But, I mean, racing for the end was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we've seen a lot of slide jobs going back and forth with Mark Parkhurst and, or not Mark Parkhurst, Kevin Foster and Thaddeus Marshall. So I think that was the highlight of my night there. But nonetheless, I mean, absolute great race.
Oh, I agree. That was something. But obviously, like what Hamilton said, next week we will not be here because it's spooky night. So we will be chilling on our own at home. Hopefully, we'll see you guys the next week at Williams Grove with the Dirt Legends. That'll be something to watch. Tomorrow is the MX5s at, I believe it is, I'm gonna confirm this, but tomorrow is the MX5s at Laguna Seca, so that'll be something to watch. Tuesday, yours truly will be back in the booth for the Xfinity Oval with John Nobinger. We're gonna be at New Hampshire that week. That'll be a little bit of a strategy race there this Tuesday, and the GT Series comes back on Thursday. That race will be at Twin Ring, Mortegi. That will be an interesting one to watch, and I don't know about anything the others, Dylan, because I'm sure those haven't even started yet. I know PSCRL on Saturdays, I can actually mention that. But
Yeah, that'll have Jimmy and I believe Derek in the broadcast booth. And Tuesday night, you're going to have myself in the broadcast booth with the Smoky Mountain Dirt Track Racing League in the on the track on Tuesday night. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys go over there and follow it. 2 streams on Tuesday nights, and then I'll be in the booth with Carl on Thursday with the GT series. It's been absolute fun. I mean, Brendan, I don't know if you've ever done road course racing leagues like that, but man, tell you what, get out of your outside of your comfort zone on a road course is actually fun. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
oh, I know my fair share of road races, but I do need to get into a league myself. But I don't have Thursdays open, unfortunately. But that's gonna be us. That's gonna be it for me and Dylan here tonight. Hopefully, we'll see you guys tomorrow at the MX5. And Dylan, you know what to do.
Take care. Brush your hair.